took lots of notes. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, that is a lot of notes.
I could keep going, but I think we're going to stop. So I've been getting a few questions and been working with a few clients that's having a little bit of a hard time deciding where to put their marketing dollars. And I think that this is such a wonderful question. One, it shows me that you guys are paying attention to where your money's going, which is awesome. That means that you are aware and you're actually running your business as a business. So bravo, kudos to you. Another thing is that if you're putting your marketing dollars into a place that you don't usually get clients from, or it's maybe not necessarily the best price, average home price, then let's look at your buyer persona. Let's get really, really clear on who they are, what they do. You might have also heard this as a customer avatar. They're very close. I do want to say that there is a significant difference between a buyer persona avatar compared to just an internet user profile. So if you are on Google Analytics or even the back end of your Facebook, you might notice that there is some really good data back there about who's visiting your website and who's interacting with your content, and that's amazing. Okay, we're so happy that they're there. That information is good to really dig into what kind of content those people are consuming, because you can see like the blog posts they're reading most, you can see your reels that are getting the most views. So it's pretty easy to kind of mine that data that comes out of what's already on the internet. So what if we take it a step back? What if we really dug into our buyer persona so that way we know what kind of content to put out? So then once it's on the internet, then we get higher returns on our investment, even in that second stage of the internet data of the marketing dollars that we have put into it, because we are very, very laser focused on what content we're putting out, because we know exactly who we are talking to. So not only are you going to get a higher ROI off of that front end, the content that you're putting out, but then you're going to reap rewards with that on the back end when you start digging into those analytics on your Facebook or Google Analytics or wherever you get all of your data. Now, I'd love to see in the chat if any of you guys track this very well at all. Like if you say, I think 65% of my data of my clientele is male, or I think a certain percentage is between 30 and 40. Like, who tracks those numbers? If you guys don't, it's totally okay. Most people don't. And that's why you're here, because you're going to learn how to do it even better. And most people don't even know that it's something that they should keep an eye on. I don't necessarily think that it's something that you need to reevaluate weekly, monthly, maybe quarterly, but definitely at least once every 6 months to a year. So you should be doing it about twice a year, just kind of, I would say when you're comparing and making sure you're still on track, I would be comparing the content you're putting out versus the content that people are consuming, making sure that they're matching. Because if you're off on this data, then you're going to have to go back to the drawing board to your buyer persona. Okay, so let me keep digging in. I have notes over here because it's a lot on this topic. There is a lot to know and a lot to take in. Okay, so when we start out thinking about a buyer persona, the one thing that we want to do is we want to think about who we want, which is your avatar, and who we have, which is your persona. We really want to get those to be about the same, to be the same person. So we are going to think about one person through this entire exercise. And to be really honest, this is something that this is the information you need to be getting from your clients. This is the most important part of this step, is that you do not just assume anything about your clients. So ways that you can get this information from them is call them and have one-on-one conversations. It doesn't have to be a straight out firing questions and answers. You guys can have conversations that include some of these questions that doesn't feel like a question. It just feels like you're having a conversation. So I would try to kind of take that route, because if not, you're going to be getting some weird looks. So, okay, so on the paper it does say, like, what is their income? If you have a buyer that's looking at a house, typically you would probably know their income. If you are currently working with these people, you're probably going to know pretty close to what their income is without guessing. And just because they're buying a home, and that's part of knowing the home, or knowing their budget and that kind of thing. So that is an easy question to figure out. Their age. You can actually look them up on Facebook and see if they have their age on Facebook. That's one way of doing it without asking, maybe, or maybe just beat around the bush and say, oh my gosh, I've hit my 50s, have you? That might still be awkward, I don't know. But actually having these conversations with your clients and getting this real information. And here is why that matters, is really when you're digging into how they consume their content, you might be way off on what some people do. So I love magazines, which most people know that about me because I talk about them all the time. But I read a ton of magazines. I read a few newspapers. But you know what? I don't watch the news at all. I read newspapers very little. So commercials would not work on me as a buyer persona. Okay, like a newspaper ad would probably work better for me. What's even better than that is a magazine ad. My demographic is reading Architectural Digest, Elle Decor. Those are the publications that I read. For example, my father, who is 65, you would probably never guess, he loves podcasts. But I will let you know, I only know this because he's my own father, but if you didn't ask him that, you would never know, because he is not techie. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying that you cannot just guess. You really need to know these questions, and really what their personal answer is. I think that a good pool of people, like the number of people that you should be questioning, is anywhere between, I would say, as little as maybe 5 or 6, and I would say maybe even up to 20, if you can even get up to there, if you can get that many people. That would be amazing. I actually think that if I were to ask everybody in the chat to answer each one of these questions, y'all would be pretty close to one another. So that is an important too, to not only do 2 or 3 people, but you want to do many. Because you are really, truly, you're looking for, you're wanting to create a benchmark. So if you survey, let's just say 5. Let's say you survey 5 of your current clients that you're physically working with right now, and you can get them to answer all of these questions. That is going to show you where you are setting. So that's your benchmark. That's where we are starting. You get that information, and it shows you that you have outdoorsy men that devour podcasts, let's say. Like, that's like a reoccurring theme. And you don't have podcasts. Hello. So that's really what we're trying to dig. Okay, I just want to make sure that nobody has any questions kind of on some of that. I do want to jump back and kind of give you a few more ideas of how you can get this information from your friends, family, and clients. If anyone has any questions on anything I have just talked about, feel free to drop it in the chat, but I'm going to keep going. So a couple of other ways that you can get this information from your clients is, one, having phone calls. I love the phone. And just asking, having these conversations, making it feel like it's a personal conversation. I think that's great. Janine says, Avatar 1, 30-70, female between 30 and 45. Number 2, 80 to 100. Those are very different. That's very interesting. So having phone calls, you could do as SurveyMonkey, or even just, anymore you can really, Google Docs, you can make surveys in Google Docs. So having the surveys, you're probably not going to want to include all of the questions that are on that buyer persona in a survey, because you're not going to get a ton of finished surveys, because it's a lot of questions, and some of them are pretty in-depth. Now, something that I think that is important that you do prior to maybe having some of these conversations or asking people to take these kind of quizzes is make sure that you know, or that they know that this is kind of what you're doing. You're probably going to ask people that you know decently well. So you might just say, hey, I'm trying to build my business. I'm trying to do more, and just really get laser focused on who my client, my audience is. And I would love if you would take this survey. It might take you a few extra minutes, but it would mean so much to me. I would definitely give that disclaimer, because if you don't and they dig into some of these questions, they're going to maybe feel like it's kind of personal, because some of these questions are a little personal. So then once you get that benchmark, then you're going to probably need to keep this top of mind for anywhere between 4 to 8 weeks. And you're going to refine and refine and refine until you feel like you really have down who the person you're speaking to is. Our goal at the end is to be able to have a one-on-one conversation with this avatar, with this buyer persona, one-on-one. There's that girl on TikTok. I want to say her name is maybe Emma or something. And I was really digging into some of her videos, and I was just kind of marveling at how many followers she has. And she is very normal. I don't want to say that she's ordinary or basic or anything, but she was normal. She's like a lot of us. And I really felt like when I was watching her videos that the reason why she does so well is because she speaks one-on-one to the person watching her. She doesn't say we, us, them, they. She doesn't say that. She says you and me, you and me. And that's really where we want to get with our buyer persona, is having a one-on-one conversation. You think about everything that's really popular right now, most of them, the way that they communicate with you is very curated to what you would want, you would buy, and what you would watch. So that is what we are trying to do, this buyer persona. I feel like I'm like really nailing into this, but I just want to be really clear why we're doing this, so that way you guys can understand the importance and then still continue it on, so that way you can really nail down who it is you're speaking to. I like you, let's be. Me too. I say we a lot, and I'm always like, my dog's over there. Okay, so I would like to answer any questions. You guys are pretty quiet in the chat. I feel like y'all probably have some questions, and I want to make sure that we answer all of them before we dig into the questions. I have Damaris on here, and we're going to bring her on in just a second, and we're going to kind of work through her buyer persona. Now, this is just an exercise. Please understand that. I'm going to be asking her to think of her 5 clients that she's working with right now, and she is going to have to answer for them, which I do not recommend doing on your own, because again, we want them to answer, because you might not realize something when you're doing it on your own. Oh, hello.
Hi.
Okay. So now I'm going to just kind of start jotting down the answers to some of these questions. And I might ask a few more leading questions, and we're going to see where you land, and then talk about some ways that you could maybe market to this one person. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so I want you to think of the 5 latest clients you've worked with. Do you have them all in mind?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And they're all over the place, honestly. So this
That's
is gonna
okay,
be good.
but you know what? It's okay if some of the things are all over the place, but we might find a few key items that really tie them together. So
Okay.
we'll just dig in and see, okay?
Okay, awesome.
I'm going to ask you to go ahead and give me their names.
Okay, so it would be Monica. Um, there is Isel. There is um,
We'll just do three. Let's just do three.
yeah. Monica, Isel, and let's do a past one, which is Pat.
Pat, P-A-T?
Yeah.
So now we're just going to go down through these questions. Tell me their ages.
Pat was in her 70s. Esau is in his like 28, and Monica is probably about 34.
Okay, so we have Monica female.
Yes.
And then Esau male, and then female, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My chicken scratch here. Okay, so tell me the living situation of Monica before she bought a house or whatever she did with you. Was she a homeowner? She rent? She lived with family?
Monica's renting with her husband and two young girls. They're both under 2.
Oh, that's a busy household.
Yeah.
Okay, what about Esau?
Esau is a father of 3, and he lives at home with his wife and 3 children.
Okay.
And he was also renting prior to buying.
Give me just ballpark age of kids.
1-year-old, 6, and 8.
Okay. And now Pat, what was she doing?
Pat was also renting with her husband, who is retired prior to purchasing.
Are both of them are retired?
No, just the husband.
Okay. Do they have kids?
No kids. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, they do have kids. They are grown children. They're like in their 40s.
Okay, let's go back to Monica. What does she do?
Monica works at an airport with customer service.
Isel?
Isel does construction in the city, so commercial construction.
Okay, and
Pat, I can't remember what she does, but it was a work from home situation.
I'm going to say. Okay, tell me a little bit about each one of these people's day, like a normal day for them.
Monica gets up early in the morning, probably around 4 to go to work. She works part-time till about 11, and her days are rotating days off. So she keeps pretty busy, and I have to be very flexible with her because of just her ongoing, like one day she's off, another she's not, and every week is different. Then she comes home and she starts her second job, which is taking care of her children, until the day goes on. And for Isael, he also has an early morning shift, and he's done probably around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he comes home, picks up his kids from his family's house because they go pick them up at the schools for them while they are both at work, he and his wife, and then they bring them home, do dinner, and normal evening. And then for Pat and her husband Ronnie, they are home all day. She works from home and he's retired, so they're just hanging out with each other most of the days. They were living in the cities and they had some friends there, so they would go out with them on a normal basis, just hanging out in their
So
actual.
they like to go out to eat. you would say?
Yeah, yeah. Oh yes, they do. And in the summers, they would drive down to the Jersey Shore where they would have rent out a house with a lot of different family members and friends and spend the time there. So that's why they decided to move down to South Jersey.
Got it. Would you say that they keep regular hours? Like, what do you think? Do
Oh
you
yeah, they're up early in the morning, very early in the morning because I would get a very early morning phone calls and messages from them, and they they stay up probably till about 10:30 or so.
okay. I'm guessing Isel does not, having 3 kids, 8 and under. He probably goes to bed early. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he does. He does. Yeah.
Okay, what would you say? How does each person take their news?
Um, Monica, I have to kind of walk her through everything a couple times because she forgets
Okay,
everything, and she's kind of like, "Wait, what? Did you say that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, remember we had this conversation before." She's kind of like,
hey,
I guess because she has a 1-year-old and
yes.
she's just getting back to the swing of things with work and everything. She's, I would say a little bit spacey, but I totally get it because I've been there myself, so I can relate. Um, and Isal, um, very he takes it well, and I can tell when I would be giving him news or conversations with him, updates. He would kind of like just take it all in and then come back and ask me more questions. He needed that like pause
Okay.
to take in the information, and he would be very nervous about every step of every step. Even if I walked him through everything, everything was like there was a lot of anxiety.
I want to tell me about Pat too.
Pat took the news very well. Anything I would tell her, she'd always find something to joke about, and she'd be like, "Oh, it'll be okay," or whatnot. Her husband, on the other hand, was Mr. Nervous Nelly, very anxious. So it was interesting to speak with them both and work with them both at the same time, because I would tailor how I would approach both of them,
Hmm.
and how I would go through, what news I would give them first and how.
That's smart. Um, go through each one and tell me how many houses they've owned in their life.
None.
None
They're
of
all
them.
first, yeah,
Okay.
all first time home buyers.
Okay. Tell me something that they would each do for fun. And I don't want to tell me something that they would personally like themselves do, not like, well, they'll go to the park with their kids. You know what I mean? Like if they were to get to go do something fun by themselves or with their husband or whatever, like what would that
For Pat and Ronnie, they both like to go out to dinner and have some drinks. So that's fun for them. For Isel, I can't tell you that I know, and the same for Monica. I don't know what they do for fun.
be?
Normally, when I would ask them, like, "Hey, what'd you do this weekend? How was it or whatnot?" "Oh, nothing. I was just home, with
With
the
the
kids."
kids,
So yeah,
they're deep in that whole period of life. I get that.
yeah.
Um, tell me how they decorate their current house. Like if you were to kind of like give each one a style, what would that style be?
I I don't know. I actually just visited Isel today. He just moved into his house 2 weeks ago. They just bought a house, moved in 2 weeks ago. So they're still in the process of getting everything together. They moved their apartment, all their old furniture into their new home, and they're getting all new furniture. So I
How about instead tell me what their personal dress style is?
Okay, so Isao and his family are um dressed down when they get, whenever I would go out and show homes with them or not whatnot, they'd have like, you know, sneakers, nice jumpsuit, sweaters,
Did they look put
very
together
comfortable.
or a little bit more scattered?
No, put together.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the rest of them?
Um, Pat and Ronnie also put together. Older couple, you can imagine
Yeah.
the little like hat on Ronnie and slacks, nice um pullovers, um, basics. And then for Monica, um, same thing. I would say a little less put together. Like they look rushed out of the house.
Okay.
But
That's
yeah,
okay.
also very, like,
This is not a diss or anything. We are just
yeah,
being
no,
very clear. Okay.
yeah. And then I would probably say like jeans, t-shirts for both her and her husband.
Okay. We kind of talked about let's talk about the education level of each one.
Okay. Monica is probably, I know she graduated high school. I'm not sure that she's gone to college. Her husband did graduate college. And he is in some type of engineering. Isel and his wife are both high school graduates. He is actually an immigrant. Um, and then Pat and Ronnie both graduated college, and Ronnie was a was in the he worked in the New York, was it like police department. He was like some high up.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You said immigrant. Are any of the other ones immigrants?
Monica and her husband are.
Perfect.
Yeah. Pat and Ronnie are not.
Okay. Let's talk about none of them own their own business, right? They all either work for someone else.
Yes, they all work. Yes, yes.
Are any of them military?
No.
Tell me how. Some of these are a little bit tough for you to answer. I understand.
This is definitely very deep.
Yes,
Like,
yeah. And
yeah,
I'm actually just skimming the surface, really, just because
yeah,
I
no,
can answer some of them.
but this is good because as I'm answering the questions, I'm realizing, I'm like, okay, I see where I'm at and where I would like to be, like my imagination of my ideal client. But this is helpful.
Great. How tech savvy is each one?
Monica and her husband are very tech savvy. Isel is tech savvy. I would say like Monica is on a level of 1 to 5. She's probably a 5. Um, Isel is a 4, and Pat is a 3.
Okay. What social network does each one use? I would say give me their top 2.
Yeah. Monica uses Facebook and Instagram. Isel doesn't really use either. He has accounts, but he doesn't use them. And Pat doesn't use her account. She doesn't have, I don't think she has Facebook or Instagram. But her son does, who I have had follow me.
Oh, how fun. What are all threes? What would be their most common objection to, let's say, since they're all buyers, what would be their most common objection per family? Like, let's say if you were showing them a house.
For Esau, one of the big things that he would also like, the first thing he would want to see would be the basement. And he was like, if the basement didn't look right, he'd be like, no, we can leave. I'm not interested. So that was always like.
So his would be like foundation.
Yeah.
It's very.
Yeah, that, and if it made, definitely the basement. That was like the one thing. Like the rest of the house could look great, but if the basement didn't look a certain way to like what he was looking for, he'd be like, I'm not interested.
Okay.
For Monica, she is expecting to walk into a house and not have to do any work to it. Like she wants to move in ready for her price point, which has been tough. She has a hard time visualizing the potential of the home. And then for Pat, no, Pat was ready to buy anything.
Okay.
That's like,
just most buyers in this market right now.
She's like, just get me out of the city. I'm done.
So so maybe her biggest objection would be no city.
Yeah. But we were only looking in 55 and over community, very specific. Like she was great to work with because while she was a first time home buyer in her 70s, she knew exactly what she wanted and exactly where. And she knew her price point. There wasn't any like, I have to convince you of anything or nothing. It was just like, look, I have the money. I know where I'm going. Just let's find this.
Awesome. Well, and those are nice ones to work with, huh?
Yeah, she was a dream.
What would be each one of theirs favorite way to communicate with you?
Pat liked to call and text. Monica likes to send me WhatsApp notes. And Esau also likes WhatsApp messages, voice notes, and phone calls, but on WhatsApp. Which, by the way, for working with like couples and families, WhatsApp really kind of works nicely because I can have them in a group chat on WhatsApp and communicate much easier. Whatever I'm communicating that both should know, I'm communicating all at once, and I can send them notes and they can both hear it at the same time.
In WhatsApp?
Yeah, in WhatsApp.
That's so interesting. So I don't know a whole lot about WhatsApp. I don't know if I'm the only one. I would like to know in the chat for everyone that is listening, just instead of hitting the chat, say yes if you use WhatsApp with your clients, because that is very interesting to me. I am doing a baby shower for a girlfriend and somebody else started a group thing on WhatsApp. I actually had to download the app just for baby shower. But I will say it's actually been very interesting. So I'm intrigued that you said that because of my recent experience with it. So that's
yeah. So I opened up a WhatsApp business account. So WhatsApp has business and personal, and then you can tie that business WhatsApp account to your Facebook business page. So it can have your Facebook.
Cool.
Yeah, your business Facebook page can have a WhatsApp button that people can just press and automatically they'll start chatting with you through there.
Yes, so that's I have seen that. I did see that.
Yeah.
Okay. Who do you think that they would like? Give me an influencer you think each person would follow.
This I'm not good at. Yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't be able to answer that question. I don't know.
What do you think if they were to go to a conference? Where would they go? That one's tough too. I know.
That is tough. I don't see Isael and his wife ever going to a conference. Like that's not their thing.
Which one was
Maybe
that?
Isael.
Okay.
Yeah. Monica would probably go to a work conference,
Okay.
and the work conference would be located in Chicago.
Why?
And
I'm sorry. Go back to that. Tell me more about that.
oh, I know her from work. So she used to be a work colleague from back when I used to work in the airline as well. And
Okay.
the corporate um the corporate offices for that airline are in Chicago. So that's where they do all their big conferences.
That makes sense.
And so that's where she would go for it.
Yeah. What about Pat?
And Pat and Ronnie, now that they're retired, they would probably go to some kind of conference related to Ronnie's old job in the New York enforcement.
Cars do they drive?
Monica drives an SUV. Don't recall it's probably a Toyota, I think. A Toyota SUV. Isao has a minivan and a sedan. And Pat and Ronnie have a small SUV. I believe it is I think it's like a Subaru. And
Would you
Pat, yeah, go ahead.
would you describe the cleanliness of those cars as like clean, or I would say clean, messy, or dirty? Like where would you rank each person?
Pat and Ronnie very clean. Esal's SUV is a hot mess,
Hey.
but they have 3 kids in there. That's where they transport the children. The sedan is like super, super, super clean.
Okay, so that's the no
Yeah.
kid car.
Yeah, that's the no kid car. And Monica's cars is okay.
So it's maybe just a little mess.
Yeah.
Where would each of these people shop? Like maybe if you could give me one store that they would go to like buy their clothes or home goods or something.
Hmm. That's a good question. I would say Monica probably goes to Target. Pat and Ronnie, I'm not sure. They were living in the city. I don't know where they would shop. And Isal and his wife like Costco. They were excited that they were going to be living next to nearby a Costco.
Okay. If they were to watch one show on TV, what would that
Pat and Ronnie would be watching baseball
be? Mhm.
or some kind of other sport, but baseball's big in their home. And Isael and his family, I'm not sure what they watch. They never talk about watching TV. And Monica, she would probably be watching something on Netflix.
Tell me, and now this time around, I want to speak. No, okay, we'll talk as a couple. Are they quick at making decisions? are they like, do your 1 to 5 again? Like five
Right.
being very quick and one being snail slow.
Okay. Pat and Ronnie were a 5. Isael and his wife were combined probably a 4. And Monica and her husband combined, I would say a high 3. Only because his her Monica's kind of slower to make decisions, but her husband is very much like, okay, this can work. Let's go. So it's interesting to see how they both take go and see a home, and they have completely different attitudes towards it.
Was it like conflicting, or they just couldn't get on the right page? Or
For them, it's very much like her husband's like very visionary. Like he's like, okay, the from a budgeting perspective, this home is right. This is in a great neighborhood that I want to live in, and I can fix a couple things. That's perfect. Let's go. And she's
he's
like,
checking boxes, and she's
yeah.
emotional.
And she's just like, I don't know about this, you know? And I'd have to like walk her through all the benefits of a specific place and what she could look at and what she could possibly do with it, and kind of help her envision herself there, and what that place would look like once she would make it her home. So
Are you very familiar with the disc profile?
I am.
Okay, so I love the disc. It's probably my favorite out of all of them, only because I feel like there's only 4 options. It's easy to know.
Hmm.
So in those situations, I love to think about the disc because it sounds like the husband's a high D.
Yes.
And so he's like decision maker, and she sounds like an S, which majority of the population is.
Yeah.
So I love the disc profile because if they would have been my clients, I'm sure you did this as well, I would have said, okay, being able to analyze both those people, the person that's going to need my hand holding the most is going to be the S. Because
Yes.
that high D, that decision maker, I can send him a text and be like, okay, you're buying this house at this price at this date. Not really, but basically. And
Yeah.
you're going to have to really spend a lot more time helping her along that process. So
Yeah.
everybody, if you don't know the DISC profile, I highly recommend looking into it. It's a personality profile that you take. There's only 4 options that you can fall into. And the D is for very direct. You're quick at making decisions. The I is interactive. You're very social. The S is going to be stability. These people are highly emotional. I believe I could be off on my stats. It's been a while since I heard this, but for the S's, I believe it's over 45% of the population is an S, which is the majority of all of the 4 letters. And then the C is someone that's really hard for me because I'm such a high D, but a C is someone that is usually very organized. There are a lot of times doctors, accountants, those type of people. They're very organized. They have lots of questions. And something that took me a very long time to learn, it was probably just some emotional immaturity when I was younger, but something very hard for me to learn about people that are high C's, is that they have lots of questions. And when you're a D, a lot of times you can take that as they're getting defensive and they don't trust you. When in reality, a high C has lots of questions just because they're very curious and they're very analytical, and they're sitting here taking their notes, and so it's not that they are challenging you. It's truly that they're just wanting more information. So anyways, that's kind of a rabbit hole I kind of went down, but it was so helpful to me in real estate, being able to quickly categorize off of one interaction with someone where they would most likely fall in there, and then that allows me to understand how to communicate with them best. Okay, going back to the questionnaire. Now a couple of questions about, actually let's chat too a little bit about what, thank you for that. How often do you feel like they're going to move? None of them houses before. So
yeah. So Pat and Ronnie, that's going to be their Forever Home because they
Okay.
just bought it. Esau and his wife, they will probably live in that home the next 5 years, I would say. I know he's already looking into purchasing again next year,
Oh wow.
because he wants to invest.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Monica and her husband would like to purchase a home that they are going to like it'll be their forever home. I don't know if that'll end up being true or not, but that's what they have in their mind.
Um, okay. Where did you meet each person? I love that you're drinking a Truly. I really would like that.
Oh, sorry.
I love it.
Yeah. Monica, like I said, used to be a coworker.
Right.
I don't know if it would be considered a coworker. I used to manage her at some point, and Esau was a family referral, and Pat was a client referral. So I was already working with a family member of hers, and her family member referred her to me.
Okay, so I took lots of notes. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, that is a lot of notes.
I could keep going, but I think we're going to stop so that way we can spend the last 15 or so minutes kind of really digging into who I think it's really coming through as your buyer persona. So what I like to do is I ask these questions and I make columns. And then as I go across in the column, if there is something that is similar, I like to make just a little star. And I don't know if you guys can see that.
Okay.
I've made stars next to the ones that are similar. So that way they can pull out to me easier. So it looks like to me that you do have a fairly wide range of age. Pat's throwing that off a little bit. So in that situation, I would probably, this is why it's important to have more than just 3 too. But I would probably throw Pat out of the mix on age and really focus in more to probably, if you're looking at, and this is a kind of tough one to call because there isn't enough data here, but you're in between that 28, 35, so probably 26, 27, to 35, maybe even to 40, I'm going to go ahead and say, all of them were renting. So are you doing any rental marketing? Are you marketing to renters?
I am not marketing to renters.
Okay, I would write that down. I would definitely be marketing to renters. All 3 renters. All 3 also early risers.
Okay.
So what that is telling me is the time that you deliver your content for them to consume. It's probably going to be early in the morning. So I would look at trying to do a test. I would do a test over probably a really good solid week. But in that week, you do need to post at least once a day, if not more, to get good results. So what I would do is I would post every single day for a week, probably between 6 a.m. and 7. And then and then really see, okay, are your views up? Are your engagements up? Really go back in that data and look, because it's in your data here, it's showing me that your clients are getting up early. Mostly consuming content in some of those hours too, which most of us do.
Okay, that makes sense.
None of them have owned homes before. Are you doing any kind of buyer seminar? First-time home buyer seminars, first-time home buyer, any kind of that content?
I am not, but I am going to be doing live podcasts on Instagram starting in April. And it will be the buyer process. So my idea is to interview, like do it twice a month and interview someone in the buyer process. So walk them through from beginning to end, all the people that are involved with that purchasing a home, and have them give the perspective, like the lender, the attorney, the inspector, the appraiser, title. I mean, everybody, but do it in order so that they can, so kind of like all just tells a story.
Yeah, I love that. What a great idea. That's wonderful. Um, I would make sure that when you do that, that the people that are listening, you give them something back also. So let's say one person is really diving deep into the inspection process. Maybe then you have, hey, I have a brochure or a one-page flyer or whatever that even if you're not ready to sell, if you're not ready to buy, it's a quick inspection checklist that you can walk around your house and just double check everything. You know what I mean? So that way you're still bringing in the audience along with who you're interviewing. I would really get a little bit more focused in on getting heavier on your first-time home buyer marketing. Make sure that the things that you have go into nice detail because all three, again, first-time home buyers, so it looks like you might be doing a little bit more of a heavier job at educating than maybe somebody that has bought quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely be prepared for that. Let's see. So both Monica and Esau are immigrants. So that's amazing. I would make sure that, tell me what kind of, where are they
from? Monica is from Ecuador and Esau is from Dominican Republic.
Okay. So a little bit, I guess, different than what I was thinking.
But they're both Spanish speaking, which is probably why I'm working with them.
So you're fluent in Spanish as well?
Yeah, I'm fluent in Spanish, so it makes them comfortable that they can speak their native language with me, although we both know English.
Do you have your marketing content in Spanish as well?
I market in English, but I do have like my buyer's guides and all that stuff I have in Spanish.
Oh, great. Okay, because that was going to be kind of something else. I would also even consider posting on social media. You can maybe once a week post something in Spanish. That is going to allow people to be more comfortable with you. They're going to know, they're going to be able to look at your Instagram and they're going to say, well, if she's posting in Spanish, she might be fluent in Spanish. So they might be more likely to reach out to you. Maybe the language barrier is something that is stopping them from buying a home. So people buy from who they know, like, and trust. And if you are showing how fluent you are in Spanish, that's going to create that trust even more.
Okay.
Another thing is, for example, in our shop, we have a set of text images. I would maybe consider getting some of those sized correctly for WhatsApp. If you have so many clients using WhatsApp, then I would definitely be prioritizing getting your marketing able to use through there. Either maybe doing like an online website that you can upload buyer presentations or upload content and then be able to quickly send them that inside of WhatsApp, or even the images, correctly sizing the images so that way they can fully see them inside of the screen. Might be something that I would consider as well. And also make sure your WhatsApp is fully displayed on all of your marketing material so that way people know that you are using it. Because it looks like that might be how people like to communicate with you. So I would definitely, a lot of people put like their Instagram handle and all of that. So if it's the same, great. But I would definitely make sure that's included in yours too.
Okay.
And also the fact that both Monica and Esau, they were the most alike out of your people here. And so that's why I'm kind of focusing a little bit more on them. They're both immigrants. They're both techie. They both use WhatsApp. They both have a little bit of a hard time visualizing homes. So with them, or I guess I don't think that's unusual I think as realtors, it's hard for us to understand how someone can't visualize something in a home because that's what we do, it's so easy to forget. But maybe if you seem to have a plethora of clients that are having a hard time visualizing, then maybe we do some sort of program that you can put furniture in there and say, look, if you were to get a sectional, this is how it would look in that room. Or, hey, I know I was just on Wayfair today. and I'm looking for just like this certain entry table, and I can't seem to find it. But they have this really cool thing where you can like just click, and all of a sudden that table shows up against your wall. It's so cool. So
Okay.
maybe think about some of those other
Like tools.
tools
Okay.
that you can use
Yeah.
to help people visualize.
Yeah, that makes
Maybe in
sense.
this
Yeah,
market,
because normally I can talk to it. I can walk around the entire house and say, "Hey, you can do this and think about this." And I kind of like I will walk into any home and like redo the whole thing. And they're like, "Whoa, like we haven't even offered." I'm like, "I know. I just want to give you an example of what you could possibly do with this home because I know what you're looking for." And I give them an estimate of what, the timing that would take or how much effort, what the cost would be so that they can better understand what they get, what they would be getting themselves into.
love that.
But
That's
the tool would probably be better, just like bonus.
yes, and I think it would maybe even make you look even more credible. You know what I mean? Just so that way you're still building on that know, like, and trust. Okay, so they all have some sort of a bigger SUV. So I'm thinking gas prices. How can we, if a lot of your clients drive bigger cars, maybe you make some fun memes talking about gas prices and SUVs, because if your clientele is driving mostly SUVs, then they're reading that and it's on your Facebook. So all of these things are like, just keep these all in mind when you're creating your content. For example, you said two people, Pat and Monica, they want to be in their forever homes. So maybe a little bit of education on that might help a little bit. So like, hey, did you know that the average person moves every 6 years? How long have you been in your house? That kind of stuff. You can kind of talk about some of that. Esau and Pat are referrals. So what marketing things are you doing for people that send you referrals?
I will actually send them back a thank you card, and usually put in some kind of also like gift card in there. And then when I close with them, then I also send another thank you card, or like give them something or give something in person. So like Esau was a family referral. So when my family member came over this past weekend actually, and I said, "Hey, by the way, we closed," and I had something for him. And it was a thank you card with a Target gift card and a bottle of Porto wine. And so that just kind of like seals everything together, and it made him feel good. And, it was like, "Oh, congratulations," and whatnot. So it was nice. So that's kind of how I tie it all together. I don't know if I should be doing
I
anything
think that
else.
sounds great. Just a question. As some people might not like this, but I think it's a great idea. So we all know almost every state, of course, every state has different laws, but most every state, you cannot incentivize someone to sell with you or buy with you, right? You can't say, well, if you refer people, then I'll give you $500. You can't say that. What you can do is you can take pictures of the gifts that you're going to give to the person that referred someone to you, and just take a picture of it, put it on Facebook, and you can say, another amazing referral package going out to tag them, who referred a great client to me. And you're not saying, I will give you this in return. You're not saying, if you do business with me, you will get something. You're just saying, hey, look, I sent a gift. And so,
right. Yeah, because I don't market it, but I do practice it in the sense of like, I'm not telling you that I'm going to give you something in return for the referral, but I do send you a thank you for doing so.
And so what I'm meaning by this, I don't think what I'm saying right. What I'm meaning is that if other people see that you do nice things for the people that refer you, other people see that, they might be like, I'm not saying they might be like, well, I want a gift, but they might say, oh, I didn't even think about referring someone. My neighbor asked me last week, if I knew of a good realtor. I just didn't even think. So if you're constantly putting that in front of people on your social media, it's going to be top of mind. There is
Okay.
nothing wrong with that. I have a girlfriend who takes a picture of her closing basket before she goes to a closing. The people aren't even in the picture. She gets so many people that comment, "What a cute basket. Oh my gosh, I would love that,
Mhm.
Scentsy warmer that's in there. Where'd you get it?" Or that really fluffy thing. Like, people comment and ask about it. And it's not necessarily like a lead generator, but it's a top of mind generator. And that's what we're going for. And a lot of people get really nervous when it comes to tooting their own horn. You're just going to have to kind of get over that, because in this business, you kind of do have to toot your own horn. Okay, we're not secret agents. We're out and proud agents. And
Okay.
that's fun. You know what I mean? Like, your buyer who's getting that super cute basket at closing, they're going to be excited to see that post, because they're going to be like, "That's mine. We're closing today. How fun." So don't ever be scared to do those things.
Okay.
Now, you can take a picture of you handing a bottle of wine to a lender and just say, "Thanks so much, Lisa, for the referral," and you don't even have to say anything about the wine. The wine's just in the picture.
Right. Okay.
So since the majority, 2/3, I guess, not even half, 2/3 of the people you gave me are referrals, I would really dig into that. I would see, let's be creative and think outside of the box of what we can do for our referrals. Let me see here. I'll kind of look at some of these other ones here. Looking that they all have SUVs. Another thing that you could do is a client event. Why, if they all have big messy cars, why not do a client event at the local car wash and say, "All my clients get a free car wash"? There is one thing that I thought was interesting on here, and that was that they all three, you kind of said, well, one, they all three are decently good at making decisions, which is nice, but they're all three a little forgetful. Like you said, Monica's a little forgetful, which she has all the kids. Esau has to think twice, and Pat's easygoing, and the husband's nervous. Which, when you're nervous, you easily forget. So maybe there is something there also that we could dig into. I'm not 100, like, off the top of my head, I'm trying to think. I don't know, but they all three have that in them. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. So maybe you set up some sort of drip campaign that when they go under contract, since everyone's so forgetful, maybe you just send them a few more reminders. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something there. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head, but
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of trying to figure out how to make like a checklist for after they go under contract, because I already have something like a checklist in my buyer's guide and my seller's guide, but I want something separate that's individualized that I can send to them and say, "Hey, look, this is where we are in the transaction. This is what you need to do next, like, and this is what's coming up next," so that they know ahead of time. I know I'm going to have to talk to it and walk them through it again, but at least they have some other resource outside of me, that when I'm not in available hours of that they can, look at.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. I like that too. Something online, like something that they can just jump on real quick. Like, here's your when you meet them or something, maybe you give them a link and say, like, bookmark this in your phone, so that way you can refer it. I don't know off the top of my head again, just exactly how that looks, but I like that idea. I do like that. One question I didn't ask, and I think this could be important, is how did they share with you that they saw a house they wanted to see? Zillow, Realtor, what?
That's great. I actually send them homes from my I have like 3 different MLSs. I send them listings from there. Most of them will look on either Zillow or Realtor.com.
Is there one that stands out more than the other?
Probably Zillow. except for Pat and Ronnie, they would actually look at the listings that I sent them.
Oh, well, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, which was nice.
Okay, I didn't know if
That means
maybe
that
there was
those
a
were always
strong
available.
board across the board with them or not. Because if they all were like Zillow, people that love Zillow, then I would say, you know, you might look into Zillow leads. If all of your clients like it, then that might be something to look into. I don't love paying for leads, I'll be honest. I don't think a lot of us do, especially the outrageous prices that some of those places charge now. But if it is something that falls into your database, you know, like your two people are techie, so maybe getting some of the like the Z buyer, or is it Z buyer? I don't remember. Gosh, there's a new one every day. But maybe getting some sort of software, you know, that you like or whatever. Just throwing that there. So that's kind of what I came up with off of your buyer persona. Tell me what you think.
This has been very helpful because now I can do this with all my other clients and really draw this up again, across the board, and really hone in on who I've been working with, and then also develop the clientele that I do want to work with. Like, who do I want to continue work with? What does that buyer look like, or what does that seller look like? Because I have worked with some sellers as well, and then focus on that and how do I do my marketing based on that. Because right now, being that I'm fairly new at all of this, it does feel like it's a shot in the dark. I'm like, I'm not sure if where is this going? Is this impacting anyone? It's like, hello, is anyone there? Every once in a while, I will get people who comment or like or whatnot. And I suppose because I've spoken to a lot of other real estate agents that do also social media marketing and whatnot, and they say, yeah, you just got to kind of keep on doing it, because even if you only get a couple of likes here and there, people are watching. Like, people watch but don't necessarily comment or like sometimes, and then one day out of nowhere, it's like, oh yeah, I'm ready. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Some questions that I would make sure, like some of the ones that I didn't think that you would be able to answer for them, but is there are things like what their home style is. Are they modern? Are they rustic? And then also like kind of more like what their dress style is. Are they boho? Are they very business? And so what some of those questions are going to tell you is if you have a lot of clients that are more of the transitional modern home style, then maybe we need to look into doing some advertisements into some of those, like if you had a local home store that sold a lot of modern furniture, something like maybe you do some sort of partnership with them. Or you have a local magazine that is like your business magazine. You know, if you have a lot of business clients, then maybe we need to look into getting that. So that's why these questions are so important. Just like the time when they wake up, you know, what is their day like? When are they consuming? The other one is, I thought it was really interesting that you said one of them drove a Subaru. So maybe if you have a lot of clients that drive Prius or Subaru or all electric, okay, those are the people that are conscious of their environment. So if we have people that are conscious, if we have a ton of people that are conscious of the environment, maybe we need to look into doing a big event on Arbor Day. You know, let's give everyone a tree. If you have something that's super health conscious, if let's say you work out a lot, so a lot of your clients are health conscious people that work out, then let's do ads at your local gym. Let's do a free yoga day. You know, those are the kind of things that we are trying to dig into to find out more. And it's okay to say. It is okay to say most of my clients are 30 to 45. Most of my clients are female. Most of my clients are Hispanic. Most of my clients speak Spanish. You know, because those are facts. And that is going to help you understand how to target to that customer even better. So that way you know that you're going to get a return on that. So now going back to the very beginning when we were talking about the difference between like the internet persona and the actual buyer persona. Now we've made our benchmark, right? You have a benchmark now. So now you get to go back and you get to look at where am I spending money marketing? Am I able to really tie that back to this person who is now my buyer persona? Because if not, if you are spending ads on, let's say you're spending ads at the college, like you put in an ad in the baseball program for the college. Not a lot of your clients are probably at college baseball games. You know, it looks like to me they might be at preschool. You know, instead of the college baseball program, let's give them money to the preschool because that's where most of your clients are coming. Is they have kids that are 8 and under, 10 and under. I love finding out that my clients have kids only because that is a really great way to market. Kids are always needing sports sponsors. Schools are constantly looking for fundraisers or whatever. So that's a great way to get connected with your target market if they are in this stage of their life where they're having children. I know some people that work with the senior aging. I have some people on a team that I work closely with, and they're getting ready to do a downsizing year-long worth of classes. They're getting lawyers and accountants to come in and talk about putting homes into trusts. What do you do when you get older? Let's make sure that your children are taken care of. But their target demographic is much older. So get as specific as possible. Like the more questions you can ask, the better. Oh, you like Facebook? Okay, well, like when would you say like you're on your Facebook? And if you're having a conversation with someone, you can say like, oh my goodness, I can only get on Facebook when I first wake up. How about you? You know what I mean? Like leading. Or I just can't stand it when I just hate that now on Instagram all I see is videos. And if they say, oh my gosh, I love the videos, I'm on TikTok all the time. Okay, maybe we need to make more videos, So those are just keep digging and keep asking. And I think that it's really important. Like I said, I would really try to go for between the 5 and 10 amount of people that were asking questions and making a spreadsheet with the questions and being able to highlight across the way what they all have in common. Would be super beneficial for you.
Yeah, this has been a really, really good session because I'm like, okay, now I can tie it all together. Now I can make sense of what I'm going to do moving forward versus just kind of what I feel was just shooting in the dark.
Yes. Well, and most people most people didn't even think about this being something that they should do. A lot of people just don't know, and that's okay. Now you will do.
Yeah, most marketing that I have encountered, like tips and whatnot, it's okay, what are your pillars? Who are you going to market to? Are you doing, geographic farming to your neighborhood, or are you doing social media videos? Are you doing, marketing to, your referrals or whatnot, but never from this standpoint of like being very specific to the actual person that you want to speak to, that you want to bring in as a client.
And I think the more and more you look into this, you will find that the more and more of that type of person come to you. Because as soon as you know what you want, they'll just come, they'll just start coming. So
makes sense.
I wish you all of the best. Once you get done with all of your interviews, and this goes for everybody, I'm going to put this out as just like an open call. If you guys get your spreadsheets put together, if you make some chicken scratch, and if you want to email it to me, I am happy to help dig through some of the data. I did this very quickly. This is something that would probably take a couple of weeks to really pull the data from your people, and that's okay. But once you get it all put together, if you want to send it to me and see if I'm seeing anything that maybe you're not seeing correlation to, I'm happy to do that for free, just because you guys all jumped on here and stayed the whole time and everything. That I'm just so happy to help you guys do that.